Canton Network with their coin, the Canton Coin, is making some massive waves and really gaining some traction within the crypto community. But who is behind the actual Canton Network, which a company called Digital Asset Holdings, which is heavily tied to the current financial system. And when you're seeing who they are truly tied with, which players like JP Morgan happen to be tied to them, the DTCC, you'll understand why this project is gaining legs and why people are really focusing on this project. So don't go anywhere as we dive into who is behind the Canton Network.
This old money game.
Okay, so the Canton Network is really gaining some traction. It's still kind of new to the market, but let's go ahead and dive into it. And as I'm researching this, I'm sharing this with you. So I am not saying this is something you should go purchase. I'm just bringing out some information so you have a better understanding of who the Canton Network is and all their connections and ties and the things that you need to know about the project. So let's go ahead and jump into it. But before we do, if you haven't watched this first episode of the Canton Network, I did make this video here where we jump into the Canton Network a little bit deeper and do kind of an overview more or less of who they are and what they're doing so you have a better grasp of this network. So if you haven't seen that yet, definitely check that out. So let's go ahead and move on to what we're going to dive into, which is the actual entity behind the Canton Network, which is Digital Asset. And this is where all these connections start to get really interesting. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'll shut up and move on. Let's read a little bit about the Digital Asset entity and see what they're all about. So take a look on your screen. It says powering connections across the market, delivering software and services that expand boundaries and how business and markets can seamlessly interact. We have our mission to transfer financial markets through privacy-enabled blockchain technology, improving capital flow to create a more efficient, fair, and resilient global financial system. Who are we? A digital asset is the creator of the Canton Network, the only public Layer 1 blockchain with privacy and founding member of the Canton Foundation as a leading blockchain innovator since 2014. We've pioneered this open, secure, and interoperable infrastructure. What do we do? Digital Asset provides a full suite of enterprise products and services to access and accelerate the delivery of institutional-grade tokenization solutions by the Canton Network. And this timeline down here is what I really wanted to get to. So check this timeline out. I won't read through too much of it, but in 2014, Digital Asset is founded. Then we move on to 2016, acquired Blockstack and Evolence Digital Finance. 2016, series led by JP Morgan Chase. 2018, Series B led by Private Family Office. As we roll up, we will have 2021 Series D growth round led by Seven Ridge and Eldridge Industries. 2021, this is where Broadridge, DLR, and Deutsche Börse D7 go live. 2022, we have Goldman Sachs, DAP, and Versana go live. And then 2023, the Canton Network launched alongside 30 plus market participants. 2024, the Canton Network Public L1 Mainnet Global Synchronizer launched. And then 2024, we have the DTCC Euroclear test the Canton Network iCapital launched IDLT. Then 2025, we have the Canton Network wins Global Custodian Digital Asset Incentive third year in a row. Understand how massive that is. And then 2025, we have Euroclear partners with Canton for Global Collateral Network. So if you don't know who Euroclear is and why this is such a big deal, check it out. So we have the Euroclear assets under custody. They have $42 trillion roughly. It is a private entity that really doesn't share very much about themselves, but we do know they have roughly $42 trillion in assets under custody. So this is a massive player that is backing the Canton Network with Digital Asset. So this is how massive this is. And towards the end, I'm going to reveal who else they're working with that is shaking up the market as well in the United States. And when somebody like this puts their name on it, you know it's going to go somewhere just off the reputation alone, right? So we'll cover that towards the end, but let's go into it a little bit more. And who is behind digital assets? I think it's very important that you understand the actual people that are working behind these entities, these companies, because some projects out there, they don't expose who's working on this project. So you could be buying a fake project. So I think it's very important that you do check out who is running the actual company like Digital Asset and what are their backgrounds. So let's go ahead and dive into that portion of it. And we're going to start with the co-founder and chief executive officer of the digital asset. So go ahead and take a look at your screen here. We'll move through it pretty quick, but I think it's important that you do see their backgrounds and where they're coming from. And then I think it starts making sense to you as you put the story together, okay? So let's go ahead and look at Yuval. He is a member of the Digital Assets Market Subcommittee of the U.S. Commodities Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, which, by the way, if you know CFTC, they're making some major moves in the digital asset realm. This is no secret because here is Canton Network stepping in right behind them. And it says Global Market Advisory Committee and serves on the board of directors of the Global Blockchain Business Council, a leading industry association for the blockchain technology ecosystem. He has also testified before the U.S. House Committee on the Financial Services Subcommittee on Digital Assets, Financial Technology, and Inclusion. Before founding Digital Asset, Yuval gained extensive experience in the financial technology, holding key positions at Citadel and DRW Trading, where he managed the algorithmic trading desk and helped launch DRW Venture Capital. So right there, you already see that Yuval has some major ties, not just to the digital realm, but he is tied to the government, U.S. government. CFTC sits on boards and gives some advice there, which is huge, right? So this is something that he is strongly connected to, and they know what they're talking about. And that's what I want to highlight. They know what they're talking about. Now let's move on to their co-founder and head of network strategy, Eric. If you'll take a look at your screen, it says Eric has built a trading desk, DRW Trading, that specializes in illiquid commodity markets, and co-founded Cumberland Mining, one of the largest crypto asset liquidity providers in the world. So Eric is bringing some massive experience in. Now let's look at Edward. Edward comes from including Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs. Edward has broad experience across security, engineering, risk management, critical infrastructure systems managing and monitoring. Edward successfully achieved the SOC 2 Type 2 examination for digital assets. So if you know about the SOC 2 Type 2, this is a security layer for the banks and major institutions like that. This is a security layer. Eric is bringing that knowledge and technology with him into the digital asset / Canton Network. Again, another great thing to see, because you're not going to get the major institutions on without the SOC 2 Type 2 certification, okay? Now let's move on to Miss Rios. She is the Chief Financial Officer. This is actually very impressive where she comes from, so check it out. It says prior to digital assets, she spent over 10 years with the Royal Bank of Scotland, where she is heavily involved in the bank's restructuring efforts following the global financial crisis. Earlier on in her career, Rios spent 5 years at IBM in various leadership roles at the firm's corporate headquarters in New York. So we have the Chief Financial Officer coming from the Royal Bank of Scotland and has also worked with IBM as well. Again, some great experience bringing validity behind this project. When you have a stacked board or stacked executive team like this behind this, these are people that know what they're doing, that have connections to the major institutions. That's the important part, is the connections, because in this world, it's not about what you know so much, it's about who you know that gets you somewhere, right? That's why networking is very important. And they have a strong network if you look at the names behind them. Let's keep reading about the Chief Business Development Officer, Kelly. So Kelly spent 26 years at JP Morgan Chase and 3 years at Goldman Sachs. Kelly's role at JP Morgan have included head of JP Morgan's global collateral management and securities clearing business, head of global custody product, head of online brokerage product asset management, and others. She was also instrumental in aiding the Federal Reserve Bank of New York with the tri-party repo reforms post 2008. Kelly also serves on the Susan G. Creator NYC board. So what's important about this team so far, just beyond, you heard about Kelly just now. She is heavily tied to JP Morgan Chase, one of the largest banks of the United States, right? Major player. But what I want to point out is this team is coming from the 2008 financial crisis. You might have heard as the Great Recession. This is a team of people that went through the battle and came out the other side, and they don't want that to happen again. And they have a lot of experience coming from this Great Recession to build the new financial system, which we are marching into. And if you know anything about the crypto market, it's not about the projects per se. We are moving into a new financial system. This is a 100-year reset. We are moving into that. And you'll see that all these big players from the other old world, if you want to call it, are now moving to it as well. So let's read about the next one here, which is Jonathan. He's the Chief Marketing Officer. And this is going to wrap up the team for us so you have a better understanding of who's behind this project. So this Jonathan has worked with including companies CoinMarketCap, Gemini, Sony, Samsung, Coca-Cola, J&J, MetLife, Adidas, Asprey. He combines creative ambition with commercial acumen, helps brands unlock new growth through bold, data-driven, and agile marketing. He has proven track record of leading teams to deliver impact at scale. Whew. So that was a lot to go through so far. We're 10 minutes in. We have a couple more stories to go through, so don't go anywhere. But I did want to point out, look how strong that team really is, and tell me they don't have a great chance of succeeding, right? Again, I'm not telling you to go in here and buy this project by any means. I'm still doing the research myself. But so far, what we have uncovered has been massive. And if you watched my last video, I have new editing software, got a new camera, got a new computer, new software. I'm still learning it. My last one, I do realize my timing was off with the sound effect with the transition from the screen. I'm sorry for that, but we'll get that cleaned up on this one. Let's keep on going. I want you to see the actual ecosystem. I know we showed it on the last one, the wheel, but this broke it down a little bit easier for you to understand, so check it out. It says the Canton Network ecosystem. I'm not going to read it through all, but you can take a screenshot and see that you have the app users, like Bank of America, Bank of China, right? Barclays, governance, you have Bitwave, Chainlink, etc. Go through it all, you'll see it yourself. But you'll see how massive of a stacked team and partnerships that the Canton Network has. Okay, that's what I want you to see is look all these big names and understand who's behind these people in full scale here. But also, I want you to see the board of members for the Canton Foundation. Again, I won't read through it too much, but you'll see that we have Euroclear, Digital Asset, Bitwave, Cumberland. We keep rolling Broadridge, Liberty City Ventures, TradeWeb, HSBC, MPCH. We also have Citium Systems, 7 Ridge, and 5 North. And these are all the members that are going to sit on the board of the Canton Foundation. So again, they are heavily tied to some big names. And just for anybody that is around, if you are looking to stack your crypto, you want to keep it off chain, you want to get it off of your exchanges, you want to get into a cold wallet, please consider looking at my affiliate link for Trezor. You will see that the Trezor safe is out, the Trezor 7 safe is out, and this Trezor 7 safe is actually quantum ready. We actually have wireless connectivity, transparent, secure element where you have good audits. This thing is ready for the post-quantum world. It's something I use personally. I do hold the Trezor safe. I've been keeping Trezor for quite some time now. You are aware of this. If you want to check it out, the link is in description, pinned comment, or you can go ahead and scan that QR code. Any kind of proceeds that go to myself for the affiliate link, I will donate 20% to mental health. This is something for the channel I'll take very seriously. Mental health plagues our society, so please consider looking at that. If you get your stuff off exchanges and you want to use a wallet, Trezor is a great one. If you don't use it, still get your stuff off exchanges. That is just for your security and for your benefit. Now let's move on to the last story which I wanted to cover, which comes out on December 16, 2025, and this is actually on the Canton Network's website. It says the Canton Network announces intentions to deploy World Liberty Financial's USD1 stablecoin, advancing institutional grade on-chain finance. And we read down, it says the USD1 has rapidly emerged as one of the fastest growing digital dollar stablecoins, surpassing $2 billion market capitalization. Built in institutional standards, USD1 is fully reserved, one-to-one redeemable digital assets backed entirely by short-term U.S. governance treasuries, U.S. dollar deposits, and other cash equivalents. By planning to launch USD1 on the Canton Network, WLFI aims to expand the stablecoin's capabilities into a regulated, interoperable ecosystem designed for global finance. Canton's architecture allows institutions to settle tokenized assets and stablecoins with privacy control and compliance, enabling a wide range of high-value financial use cases, including collateralization for derivatives and institutional lending, instant cross-border payments with 24/7 settlement, on-chain asset issuance, funding, and redemption, interoperable on-chain financing across institutions and markets. Whew. So that was a lot to cover. We're 14 minutes in. Thank you for hanging out. But in summary, the Canton Network is heavily connected by some major juggernauts of the old financial realm. They are blending the two together. They are creating the new system as if the old system's being, replaced. It's not really being replaced as much as it's being enhanced. That's all that's really happening here. So hopefully you enjoyed something in this video. If you did, consider hitting that like button, leave a comment, share with a friend. And if you did like it, and if you choose to, hit that subscribe button. It would be very much appreciated. But as always, before I let you go, take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and become that change you want to see. I'll see you on the next one.